today. We're going for the full pull today, all the way around all 17 turns of this 3.74 mile long iconic raceway here in Central Florida. It's hot and heavy, but not as hot and heavy as the racing's going to be. As you see, they'll come barreling down into turn number one, kind of a little snake through there. And then it gets kind of aggressive as they get around into turn one, into 3, 4, and 5. Things happen really quick. And then that's when we're going to hear that big, loud American horsepower down into 7. 7 brings them up through another snake in the back, and then into 10, turn 13, and then around through Gendry Bend, Le Mans Curve, and down the backstretch.
It is bumpy all around this place, and take note about that hairpin turn number 7. It's our biggest and best brake zone on this entire circuit. That's where we're going to have the majority of the passing take place. But let's go ahead and roll through our starting grid for this Parnelli Cup race. Starting on pole, it is going to be Logan Adams in the number 86 car. In second place is going to be Craig Capaldi in the 68. Chris Clark going to be rolling off from third with Cale Buell in fourth. Lewis is in fifth place with Graham Carter in sixth. Harris Levitas in seventh place with Nick Smither in eighth. Miller Richmond rolling off in ninth with Andrew Hordes rounding out our top 10. Got a few more back here. We've got Elliott rolling off in 11th with Chase McFarland rolling off in 12th. And then, of course, we also have our Mustang class car, our classic class, with Paolo Salvatore rounding out our 13-car field. So, Sean, what do we expect to see here today? Because we did get cut short yesterday.
We did, but we got cut short, but we didn't. I don't think it was a losing battle. We got fed some amazing racing quick off. If yesterday's short race is any indication whatsoever of how the rest of the season's going to go, folks, I'll tell you that you're going to need the old saying, you got to pay for the whole seat, but you only need the edge, because it was outrageous. I'm looking right now to see Clark starting in the third position yesterday, and I talked to him afterwards, and I said, you're passing on the inside, you're passing on the outside. What was going through your mind? And he literally said to me, he's like, I just had to believe the car would stick. Honestly, I don't think if he knew that it really would, but that's what his plan was. So I'm expecting a lot out of Clark. Capaldi starting in the second spot. He's fast. He's won a ton of races last year in 2025 in the first season, the inaugural season of the series. I expect him to be pretty impressive. Logan Adams, new to the series this year. He's on the gas. He's a young gun, and there may just be a new sheriff in town as far as Logan Adams is concerned. So those top three guys are starting up front for a reason with qualifying. I expect a lot out of them. But let's drop back a little bit here. One thing to look for today is McFarland starting in the 12th spot. Having some trouble with qualifying things. He's fast. He showed that in practice. He has showed that in yesterday's race for a bit. How is he going to do in traffic or making his way up through traffic? Time will tell. We're all going to learn that together. And then, of course, we've got Paolo Salvatore. He's our one classic car. We could touch on that a little bit later on. But the Classics is the only one out there that is not a Dark Horse R. He's going to start with a gap of several hundred yards in between the 12th starting position of McFarland and him. And we hope to grow that class significantly over the next couple of months.
It's really fun having that classic class here. Speaking of classics, getting some shots around Sebring here. I think I saw a doggo not too long ago. Been enjoying some of the wildlife, some ospreys building some nests out here. It's been pretty fun to watch. So, everybody rounding through turn number 17. The field is in the hands of Logan Adams. He looks towards the start-finish stand and patiently waiting. I already hear the V8s rising in revs, and we've got a green flag here at Sebring. A great jump from the outside. That's Craig Capaldi, but it looks like Logan Adams is going to hold the inside going into what is turn number 1. Chris Clark getting aggressive, getting down the inside. He's going to steal away that second place.
Impressive run. No doubt in my mind, Capaldi was going to get a good jump off the line. He did just that. He's a veteran in these Mustangs, and that showed right there. Clark, this is his home track. He's going to be aggressive. He made 3 passes in about 1 lap yesterday in our first race, and he's starting further up in the pack right now. But yesterday, both Joey and I, Logan Adams was so far out front so quick, we forgot he was here. Can he do that today? Are they going to give him that opportunity, or is Capaldi going to stay hot on his tail?
Well, I think it's already a different story because look at Chris Clark in that blue and white number 9 car. He already closed it in. However, maybe suffered just a little bit on that corner exit. Turn number 7 is so important because it's a passing opportunity, but also you got to be able to put the power down coming out of there. And this is David duking it out with Craig Capaldi now. David in that kind of green number 68 also had a fantastic start.
He did. Luisi's looking very, very good out here. You know, so far, normally I like to say the cream rises to the top. We haven't got that far into it right now. But right off the bat, these guys are relatively aggressive. It seemed as though after race number 1, yesterday being our Miles Cup, that they already were starting to build a little bit of trust with one another, at least in the front of the pack. We'll see if that continues on here as we continue on with these guys right on top of one another. Luisi's David in the 37 in that green car looking really good, but he's got a lot of pressure on him of Capaldi right behind him.
And Craig has got a ton of track experience. It doesn't matter where we go on the schedule. He has driven a lot of these racetracks before. However, this racetrack, Sean, is new for the Mustang Cup in 2026, so some competitors haven't even driven here before.
That's true. Yesterday and the last couple of days is the first time they have. We do have several teams as far as McFarlane, his first time out. Let's keep in mind with McFarlane further back in the pack, coming into 17, hot, heavy, 2 different lines, really rough through there.
And I think that was Nick Smither really running up on the back of the number 36 car going into turn number 17. And I agree with you, 2 completely different lines through Sunset Bend, through those 2 drivers. And sometimes you'll see the drivers really arc it in and kind of stay in the middle of the racetrack. And I think this is Craig Capaldi trying to make a move back on Luisi's, getting down to the inside of turn number 3, room being given. The squeeze is going to happen here in turn 4 and 5. The room finally chokes up Craig Capaldi through.
Well, Capaldi, and I can't...
Oh, that was loose.
Well, that was really loose right there. He got off into the sand a little bit earlier on. Maybe he got a little sand on the tires. But either way, they're pushing. But I got to say, great racing with those 2 guys. And Luisi's gave him the room, gave him the opportunity. He said, hey, I'm going to race with you. I'm not going to let you go by. I will give you the opportunity to if you can be faster than me right here. And it worked out for him.
And what I really enjoy seeing is you see that white and green number 8 car. That's Cale Buell right behind David in that bright green number 37 machine. Now, Cale was new to the series last year and was really working on his racecraft. He was always fast. He could always turn lap times out there, but he was learning how to pass, learning how to make those moves to try to bait your competitor into certain moves. And obviously, he's right up here in the thick of it today.
Well, the thing is with that driver, with the Leaf Ford competitor out there, you know, for him, he spent all 2025 working on racecraft and working under the Capaldi tent, and he learned so much by doing that, and we're expecting a lot more. I was lucky enough to have or be standing there where he was having some driver coaching moments earlier this week and learning so much and hearing what they're talking about and heel toe and doing things properly, and it shows. His racecraft is really, really getting better and better. As right now, he's putting the pressure on Luisi's. And we hopped on board there for a minute with Levitas as we saw him and Smithers going at it. Levitas, brand new to this series and hasn't been in a car in several years, sharing the duties, driving duties with his father, racing the Miles Cup, and he racing in the Parnelli Cup as we're side by side right now. That is Cale Buell trying to put some pressure on Luisi's. Luisi's, they're getting to 17. 2 different lines again.
This is great racing coming out onto the front straightaway here at Sebring, neck and neck between David and Cale. David's going to have the inside, the driver's left side going into turn number 1. That usually prevails here at Sebring, and I think Cale already knows it. Backing out. Let's see about an over-under attempt maybe from this white and green number 8 car. He's putting his car on driver's left. That's exactly what Buell is trying to do, but maybe not quite close enough going into that brake zone. I think I saw also Miller Richmond making a move on Carter just behind.
So a lot of great racing going on so far here today for our Parnelli Cup, the number 1 Parnelli Cup of the 2026 series. Those of you just tuning in, this is Mustang Cup with the Dark Horse R's in the Classics, and this is a battle royale right now as you're watching this battle in between the number 37 of David Luisi's, and right behind him is the Leaf Johnson Ford entry of the number 8 of Cale Buell. Cale Buell up on the podium throughout 2025. No stranger to being on the podium, and he's battling to do that again right now. By class, he is in P2, but he has 3 different drivers in between him and the leader, as Logan Adams, their leader, checking out on the rest of the field.
Yeah, he's already checking out, and this is a battle right here between Nick Smither and I believe just behind is going to be Carter, and he's been the one that's been really putting the pressure on right here, kind of giving Nick a run for his money. One of the really cool things about Mustang Cup, and really last year in 2025, was the opportunity for a lot of these drivers to join that Le Mans Invitational over in France with the Mustang Challenge, and Nick Smither was one of those drivers that got to go over there.
You know, as far as being a driver goes and being in racing, being invited to Le Mans in any form of motorsport and in any different of the categories is quite an honor. So for Nick Smither and some others to be able to do that, that's really awesome stuff. As we see him right now, heading down this very fast backstretch, all of them still relatively close to one another. I mentioned earlier 2 different categories out there, and those categories are our Dark Horse and our Dark Horse Legends. It's by age, 50 years of my age, if I guess you're, or maybe you go by your hair color. I don't know why they call us blue hairs when it's gray, but so it goes by age. And so the Legends are 50 years and older. The Dark Horses are under that. And so they are intertwined with one another. And Cale Buell has 3 of the Dark Horse Legends in front of him, being Luisi's, Capaldi, and Clark. Not slouches, all fast competitors, before he can get a good battle going with the leader. He's hoping for a caution.
That's exactly what he is hoping for, to get a little bit of track position. But that was Derek Carter trying the outside around turn number 1, and now Miller Richmond's going to force the issue. Contact between the 2 cars. That was front right to left rear, and thankfully they both drive away from it. We're going to see if there's any sort of damage. Oh, a little bit of loose from Derek Carter there. See if he can grab the car back and wrangle it onto the racing line. Remember, these cars, 500 plus horsepower, H-pattern gearboxes, and now Carter's going to have to move a little bit defensive. Miller Richmond showing the nose. Nearly identical cars, even down to those blue mirrors. Oh, a little bit wide there from Carter.
Runs it in a little deep. I was wondering, there's a big difference in braking zones for those 2 cars right there. 2 different ways of trying to get it done. They're still right back on top of each other. They've already rubbed some paint, swapped some paint, and I'll tell you right now, Miller Richmond loves off-road racing, and swapping paint is not a big deal for him. So Rubbin's racing. He's got the elbows up right now and ready to go, as they're a great battle in between those 2. We saw a little contact there. I have a feeling that right now, both of them are like, whoa, let's not keep doing that.
So, Sean, what you're telling me is Miller Richmond's not going to have a problem with the bumps here.
No, he's not going to have a problem with the bumps. He's got more bumps in his trailer from all the sand and dirt he's still got left over from King of the Hammers.
I know that he's been out at King of the Hammers recently. It's been going on for a few weeks in the desert earlier this year, and of course mentioning his off-road experience, but also dabbling into the road racing as well. And he was pretty new to it in 2025, just like how we were talking about Cale Buell working on his racecraft. Well, Miller Richmond was really just working on his road racing ability, and I think it's actually kind of proving to us out here on track. He's sitting here inside the top 10 and actually 5th in class.
Yeah, doing really well. And the thing is with Miller Richmond, he just loves racing. He's very passionate, and he loves Ford, as we all do. And so whether it's a Ford off-road Raptor, Ranger truck, or it's a Dark Horse R, if it says Ford and you can race it, Miller Richmond wants to be in it. And God, I appreciate that. And his racecraft is getting better and better on these road courses here. So right now, still out front by class, it's Logan Adams. Then we got 3 spots until Cale Buell and Harris Levitas, 1, 2, and 3. And was there big contact right there?
No, this is just an extremely loose moment. I believe this is Carter in the 24, and I wonder if this is maybe a tire starting to lose a little bit of air out there from that contact that we saw with Miller Richmond. It was left rear contact into that car that we're watching. However, coming through turn number 5, everything seems to be back onto pace. I see the attitude of the car, but you can't drive when it's going down like that, and he's clearly still on race pace.
It'd be his left rear most likely would have the problem, but he was going to that turn, and the car would be loaded to the outside right rear, but at the same time, this track's so bumpy, you don't know. And I tell you, the thing is, you and I, we've done a lot of racing over the years, but we're up here. Okay, they're down there. So as far as exactly what would be happening if there was a problem, we're simply speculating here. But it looks like maybe he's gotten some issues from that contact earlier on, or maybe he just needs to say, hey, woosah, let me calm down a little bit here. A lot of race left to go in this Parnelli Cup here for Mustang Cup.
This is a shot of our leader, Logan Adams, working his way through what is turn number 16 here at Sebring. You see so smooth right on the line, accelerate up through that H-pattern gearbox that I mentioned. And got to remember, these V8s, 500 plus horsepower, and the driver's doing the shifting the old-fashioned way. They got 3 pedals in there. They got to manually switch the gears with that right hand, and you compare that to a lot of the production-based race cars nowadays that are globally homologated. This is different, and if you ask me, these are the types of cars that I grew up trying to drive, right? Yeah. This is what you learn how to drive on, learn how to race on, and it's great to still see some 3 pedals in the Pro Paddock.
I love it, and I know we keep using the term racecraft, but in order to be a great driver, a race car driver of any sort, I'm a firm believer that this is something that I consider being like the basic bones of it. You've got to know how to drive a car like this. You've got to know how to run the 3 pedals. And the old school H pattern, I don't care what the pattern is, but you got to have those 3 pedals in there. And then when you get into a different car, or maybe not an updated car, but something else, the racecraft, I think, starts to come a little bit easier for you. But this is a lot going on inside the cab of that car right now in order to make this thing work properly and go fast. It's not just an easy ride. It's not a Sunday ride. There's a lot of work going on in there. And for some of these, it is sweat and tears.
Well, trust me, it is sweat for sure today at Sebring. It's, call it mid-80s out here in Central Florida as Cale Buell putting the pressure once more on Luisi's. Just defensive down to the inside. And I also kind of have to wonder, so Cale obviously has a thing for green, right? Green seems to be his favorite color. So
absolutely.
How anxious is he to get by this green car, or does he really like to watch it as well?
You never know. I mean, I bet he'd love to watch it, hands down, without a doubt, in his rearview mirror right now.
Look at how close he's getting. He's really starting to pack on that pressure, and that goes to that racecraft that Capaldi Racing team has really helped out Cale Buell with. Not only can he drive the race car fast now, but he's learning where he needs to place it. And car placement, whether it's left, whether it's right on the track, depending on where you are, it certainly can be very intimidating in the mirrors. I believe that's another car. That's Harris coming up behind him.
Now, here's the thing. As we mentioned earlier, that Harris is new to the Dark Horse R and the Mustang Racing. He and his father, great team. They do a lot of customer racing from all different models and makes, and right now to have him back in the car, he's just warming up to it as well. Now he's got himself part of a great battle. Now, I'm not taking anything away from David Luisi's running an amazing race. However, I feel as though Buell could go a little faster. This has now allowed Levitas to move up, and lap times are getting very, very close, right on top of one another, as all of them right now are around 2-minute 19.87, 2-minute 19.38, 2-minute 20.64. And so they're getting close. So this is allowing Levitas, as we're on board with him right now, to get in the mix and start getting real racy. He knows racecraft, as we've talked about before. He loves motorsports, loves racing, and he's back behind the wheel again and finds himself in an all-out battle right now with Buell and Luisi's.
That was a nice look down to the inside, and you saw Cale probably recognize that in the rearview mirror, just give a little bit of room there at the apex, and then all of a sudden back on the attack to Luisi's directly in front of him. And this is a little bit of a tricky situation to be in if you're Cale Buell, because you want to attack, right? You want to make the pass and get up there in the top 4 overall. It's also not for class position. However, that car behind is for class position.
Yep.
And he's starting to put the pressure on, so how much aggression do you put on there? Because you also have to worry about the defense in the rearview mirror. It certainly seems like all attack right now.
It is. He's attacking hard right now, and that's just it. Cale Buell, he can't make a mistake and take himself out of the race right now. He's got a P2 position. He's going to be on the podium. As he goes to the inside, is he going to make a stick? That was his tab. That was all him right there. Wasn't able to hang on to it. Got very racy, dove in. I feel as though that was his turn, and he gave it away.
Yeah, I think he could have been a little bit more forceful. However, I love racing room being given, maybe a little bit of struggle putting the power down, putting the thundering V8 down to the ground there, and Levitas rolls right up onto the back bumper. Doesn't have anywhere to go. But what I was going to mention with Cale's move down to the inside of turn number 10, when you stick it side by side there and you're on the inside, unfortunately, it puts you on the wrong side of the racetrack going towards turn number 13, and just ultimately the shorter distance prevailed.
Absolutely it is, and it showed right there, but then that gap was made back up, and exactly what you said, that gap happened there. Now it's made back up. Buell's to the inside. Now he's got a full car length and change on him. I'm wondering if on the radio maybe the team's talking to Luaces and saying, hey, you know, you two are gonna just not be friends when this is done. Let him go by. He's not in class. But then we do have right there Luaces and Levitas. Levitas is going to want to get on by as well. And I know that Harris Levitas, he's an awesome guy. He is in there with a smile on his face, and he is having the time of his life right now. As Cale Buell, I would expect, and I could be wrong, I have been before, I would expect Cale to slowly start leaving this pack of two, but he has a long ways to go. He hopes and is praying for a full course caution right now so that he can have an opportunity to race for Logan Adams up front, who poor Logan for day number 2 has gotten no love from us because he's so far out front, we don't even get to give him any action here.
Yeah, other than a handful of minutes ago, just cruising out front. I will say that Chris Clark just put in his fastest lap of the race at a 2:17.7, so about a half a second faster than Logan Adams as we continue to watch this battle between Harris Levitas and also Luaces directly in front of him. I also see Nick Smither. That's that white, red, and blue number 58 car, kind of the caboose on the train, maybe about 25 car lengths back, but he was actually the fastest of this group of 4 the last time by. We're going to see if he can continue to close that gap. But while we're watching this Levitas battle, it kind of leads me into my next point with you, Sean. We do have different championships on a given weekend. We had the Miles Cup yesterday. We have the Parnelli Cup today. And this is a great example, this entry of sharing the car between 2 drivers and 2 championships.
It's so cool because it gives you an opportunity. Now that you say that, let's talk for a brief minute about the Ford Pyramid of Racing, and which is important. And, Ford loves motorsports. Ford loves racing, and Ford loves winning, without a doubt. And so that being said, you have your club racing, your club levels, and you're out with your buddies and things of that nature. But there's a big difference in the way things are run and the pressure on a driver and what you have to go through, and more importantly, the facilities you get to race at when you get to the professional level, as we are here. But this is the first level in the Ford Pyramid of professional racing. And so this is a big, big jump for a lot of these competitors to go from club level to here. Well, a lot of times you don't have the budget to do that. But when you have the Parnelli Cup, as we're watching right now, and then the Miles Cup on day 1, you can race for 2 different championships. And you can do it with a friend, you can do it with a mom or a dad or what have you, and split those costs, split the expenses, and it gives you an opportunity to go racing and race for a championship, which is huge, and work your way up the Ford Pyramid of motorsports and do it on a lesser budget. We go to the inside with Levitas. Could he make it stick? Trying to get Luaces. Luaces getting a little squirrely right there. But all in all, right now, Levitas splitting the driving duties. He's going for a championship is what he hopes for in a Parnelli Cup, as in Parnelli Jones. And his father going for a championship in a Miles Cup, as he was going after it yesterday, all in the same car. And right now, Levitas to the inside, or to the outside, I should say. Now he's going to drive to the inside, coming out of 7, up through these S turns, putting a lot of pressure on the Luaces.
This is a great battle.
It is.
I think it's only a matter of time until Harris is able to maybe open up the door a little bit. This is where Cale Buell tried to make the move a couple laps ago before finally securing that pass done. So I think that Harris is actually maybe a little bit stronger on this, call it sector number 3, and then across the start-finish line into turn number 3. So call it the back side of the racetrack up into the start-finish. And that's pretty much where these drivers are getting going right here. We're going to see if that power down issue, I think that's mainly what Lois has been struggling with out there, at least from a visual aspect. And when I'm talking about the power down, It's the ability to drive it off of the corner. These cars have so much horsepower, the drivers really have to be careful with that right foot not to spin up those rear wheels. And
easy to
right
do.
here at turn number 16, it's one of the lowest grip sections of the racetrack, and here comes Harris.
And this racetrack has so many different types and forms and levels of traction right now as Harris pulling up side by side on the Oasis. The 36 into 37. The dark horse and a dark horse legend. Great battle. Runs it in deep into 17. Holds his line. Pulls it to the inside. Takes Luisi's line away from him and says, no sirree. I'm going in hot and wide there. Running it a little deep. I'm coming back to the inside. Great car control. And perfect timing. He must be listening to our broadcast because it shows exactly what you're talking about as far as horsepower goes. Getting the power to the ground. A lesser driver could have easily made a mistake and had the rear end step out on him right there.
Well, and also we kind of saw it there in turn number 1. We saw how aggressive Luisi's was into turn number 1, and it's a little bit of an odd kind of thing to think about. But back when I was still racing these Mustangs, now not obviously the Dark Horse R's, but I've got a lot of time in the FR 500Cs and the 302Rs and whatnot through various forms of professional competition. But the H-pattern gearbox and being able to put the power down and all of that, it all kind of culminates into this long race. And what I think Luisi's needs to do right now is actually drive slower. The slower you actually drive, the faster you will go on the racetrack. If you go burning into turn number 1, all of a sudden the exit isn't going to be what you want it to be. So it's kind of an odd thing to think about, but usually the bigger, the heavier, and the faster the cars are, the slower you drive it, the faster they go.
It's that in a lot of forms of motorsport. When you have horsepower, if you're not in a type of vehicle that momentum's your friend and you have the horsepower, slow is fast. You got to slow down in order to go fast. And to travel around through our practice sessions and qualifying, I'm all over the track watching and just seeing it as I do to every different track, because every different type of car at the same track, it's a different thing to watch. You know, front engine, like Levitas, he's used to rear engine Porsches. Now he's in a front engine car that's heavier. That's a massive difference. So I always go all over the track and pay attention and see where cars are loose, where they're heavy, what's working, where they're sticking, where they're not. And to watch these guys, out here getting around the course the way they are, it's just there's so much to it. You got to slow down. And the ones that are really fun to watch, it almost looks violent. And you're like, wow, that's entertaining. Their lap times are terrible.
It's true.
It is. You're like, that was so fun to watch them go through that section. And then you look at the sector, and in that one sector, there'll be a second off.
Yeah.
But boy, it was a blast to see. And then the ones that come through, you're like, yeah, that wasn't all that exciting. And next thing you know, I'm talking to them on the podium.
It's the old adage, smooth is fast.
Yes,
and
it is.
Like I said, it's a difficult concept to understand, not drive slower. It's drive smoother, so that way you're not manhandling the car. And I guess another great way to describe it is if you just try to ask too much of the car, right? If you're fully on the brakes right here, and then all of a sudden you crank a bunch of steering wheel input, it doesn't want to turn. So you have to kind of let the car also do its thing, and all of a sudden the speed will come to you. This is a shot of our leader, Logan Adams, here in the 86. Nothing has changed up front other than the gap continuing to grow. Fastest lap of the race belongs to him. He's grown it out to 5.1 seconds over Chris Clark. And, I mean, look at the left side timing and scoring there. I mean, the next car in class is about 26 seconds back.
Yeah, really impressive. I was speaking to him a couple days ago after watching him in practice, and he wasn't quite up on top of the leaderboard just yet. But sometimes you get a feeling when you're watching someone and you talk to him a little bit. And I told him, I said, I got a good feeling about you. I said, I've been around this stuff a long time. And I got a good feeling about you, kid. And that's literally how that conversation went. And I asked him how old he was, 26 years old. He looks a little bit younger than that. And I just had a good feeling. And then yesterday he showed us in a very short race what he was capable of. And then we were talking on the podium. I asked him, I said, did you have an extra gear? And he kind of laughed. He said, well, I did, but Capaldi Motorsports, Capaldi Racing put that extra gear in there. But he did. And he is, here's an example of, I say, with something, if you went to in-car cameras, a really exciting and fun lap as a fan to watch. May not be a fast lap, but in it you see a lot of elbows. And to see the steering wheel doing a lot of moving right to left. If you get in the in-car with Logan Adams right now, you're not going to see his elbows at all. and you're not going to see the wheel move too much. It's nice, easy movement. So down the road here, if you're watching different forms of motorsport, different things, and you see an in-car camera like that, pay attention to them. And I guarantee if you see them really up on the wheel and jockeying the wheel, they're not putting down a good lap.
I know that just a few moments ago we were getting some great shots of Paolo Salvatore in that classic class, and kind of leads me into my next point with Paolo out there. He is the only classic classed car out there. But it's a great way to introduce more Ford chassis into this Mustang Cup USA. I mentioned that I've got a ton of experience in previous chassis, and I know a lot of them are out there. It would be great to see them really show up here at the racetrack and increase these entry numbers and give Paolo somebody else to race against, as we are on board now with Harris in the number 36 car exiting out of what is turn number 5, this bending straightaway all the way down to what is turn number 7 here. And look on the left side, that's our data up into 5th gear. Watch the brakes, hard on that brake pedal pressure, down 4th gear, down 3rd gear, all the way into 2nd gear at turn number 7, and then it is immediately back onto the throttle up through, and probably the top of 4th gear here coming into turn number 10. I'm not sure if they're going to grab 5th or not.
I don't know if they are right here in this section here, but they're giving it to you. You see the RPMs almost up into the red there. Levitas, I'm very impressed with Harris. I mean, we know that family and that team. They've been involved, for many years with Lamborghini, still are, Porsche still are. A lot of great customers. They're an amazing team. And now they're getting very involved with, the Dark Horse R's. They're learning so much, and they've already done so much development for some of the different Ford vehicles, from Raptors and all different types of things, a lot of off-road stuff. Really impressive things that this team does with Levitas and what is TPC Motorsports, TPC Racing, if you want to look them up. But they really take it serious, but they also take fun very serious as well. And I'm really impressed with how well he's driving after not being in a car for such a long time. And they're so pumped on this. They actually just bought 2 days ago a brand new semi truck while they were down here just for Mustang Cup racing, which is really cool. So they're growing that team, and they're looking to get more people in their paddock under TPC for Mustang Cup and bring them out here racing at some of the most amazing, most iconic raceways around the United States. And Joey and you and I get to talk about that all year long. Yeah,
well, and I love to see more and more teams get here into this paddock, into this Mustang Cup paddock, because lots of individual entries, but also the biggest team throughout 2025, Leo Capaldi over there with Capaldi Racing, a great family effort. The Capaldis and I go way back, and always a top-notch Mustang effort. From Craig out here driving, from Leo running the operation. Sandy's also out there. Chris is out there really heading up all of the cars.
Great driver, Coach Chris.
And then you bring that up because not only do they have all of the entries under the tent, but they also have the knowledge, the knowledge from all the previous Mustangs as well, and the ability to driver coach all of those cars under the tent.
Yeah, absolutely. Capaldi, the whole team, they're A1. They really are. And coming in with being the series manager of this amazing series, and last year being in its infancy, and I just came on board a few months ago. So on the management side, I'm learning more about Mustangs. On the racing side, as you do, as a lover of motorsports in general, I feel more comfortable talking about what I see on track than I do managing the whole thing, even though I've done it for other series, but working with the Mustangs is different. And Leo Capaldi and his team, along with others, have been a huge help, and of course our team at Ford as well. And so it allowed me to come into Sebring, being our first weekend of racing this year, feeling like I was on top of my game, and I know exactly what's going on and what needs to be done. And we've been very successful with a lot of smiling faces all weekend long, and I would not be able to do that job as well without people like the Capaldi team and everyone.
Well, and I want to echo that this Mustang Cup paddock, we're all here to win, right? Yeah. We're all competitors, but if there's an issue with the car, Leo Capaldi is the first one to go over to another trailer to say, hey, we got spare parts. What do you need? Yep. How can we help out? And I think that's really the vibe of the Mustang Cup paddock. Yes, we want to win. That's the ultimate goal as a racer. However, we all want to still race. And if somebody is having a problem out there, help is there.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can't say the same about every different series out there. It's not always like that. And talking about the Ford Pyramid, if you're at the top of the pyramid, right up to the pointy part there, you're not going to see a lot of teams going next door being like, hey, do you need anything? No, definitely that's not going to happen. But at this level, yes, it's a professional level, and it's considered big time, but it's at that level where it is still, hey, let's make sure we all get out on track.
Well, and I mean, we're all here for the same goal, right? We all want to finish these races, and we all want to have a great time and have a smile at the end of it. And there's no worse feeling than if you have some trouble on the weekend, whether it's a mechanical issue or whatever it may be, to kind of be stranded out here in the paddock. And trust me, if you're thinking about coming out and racing with Mustang Cup, it couldn't be a more welcoming paddock from the competitors. And even, Sean, on your side of things, being the series manager, everybody in tech, everybody running all the hospitality, it's just a fantastic experience for all of these drivers.
It really is. And I'll tell you, I'm still very competitive no matter what I do. So even in the management side of things and growing this series, everybody else might not know we're racing, but we are. We are racing, and I'm here to win and build this series up into something really, really special. So if anyone in any other series, and I love it all, and I will help anyone in any other series, but if you think I'm not competing against you, think again, because I am.
As we get shots here of the number 9 car, we've been watching him for the last lap and a half or so. This is Chris Clark. Now, Sean, you were really high on this driver because yesterday, maybe a little bit out of place from the qualifying session, and
agreed.
All of a sudden, he just made some great racecraft moves, worked his way all the way up to the lead in that class, and he's doing a fantastic job. Now, Logan is 6.5 seconds up the road, but he's keeping him honest because at Sebring, a mistake is going to be more than 6 seconds.
Well, let's just think about it. There's so many ways that a mistake could happen at Sebring. Just about how rough the track is and the bumps, and there's so many different forms and levels of traction in places where there isn't any traction on any given lap here. And then, I don't want to say it, but God forbid, if something happened like we did yesterday and Mother Nature causes a problem, and it's happened every day in the last 4 or 5 days. It happens. It gets so humid and it breaks. So there's so many. Joey, for day number 2, was literally knocking on wood in the studio here. But there's so many things that could happen. So 6 seconds is not that huge of a deal. Granted, we only have 7 minutes, 4 seconds, plus 1 lap to go. But still, Clark is keeping him honest. But at the same time, it doesn't really matter. 2 different classes, as you were saying earlier. So right now, Adams is on top of the podium if he just hangs tight in the Dark Horse class. Clark's going to be back on top of the podium again in the Dark Horse Legends. So he's looking really good. And then how about Paulo Salvatore? He's out there in a classic, started last, but not just last. He started over 300 yards behind the last car, which at the time was Carlton McFarland, who is currently out right now. So all in all, he has gotten around Elliott. He has gotten around Miles Richmond. And now he's going after Andrew Hords. But he's got a ways to go to make all this happen here. But, he's slowly moving up through the pack in a classic car, which we do know some of those classic cars are just wild cars.
They can be very, very fast and very advanced for what they were.
Yeah,
and actually, here's a great shot of that car. So you can actually explain what this car is a little bit more, because there's several chassis that are allowed in the classic class here, and this is actually one of the newer chassis that's allowed.
It is. There's several different chassis out there. You've got the 550s, you've got the Boss 302. We've got several different vehicles out there, but they do by the regulations in the classics, and they are different cars. They're not the same car, but one of the things that we've been working on, I should say that Ford has been working on, is the regulations to get these cars so that they don't have to make many changes. They can come in and keep the car running as is, make it very affordable, as we've done a lot of things to cut down on costs for these guys to come race in their classics. As far as we're working on a new tire program, and that information is going to be probably coming out on Monday or Tuesday, so in a day or two, as far as saving thousands and thousands of dollars just every weekend in tires. In-car electronics, we're working on a great deal right there where we've got that cut down to either a small rental fee or a much less expensive thing for your in-car electronics instead of spending $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. And so we've done a lot to bring the cost down, but the cars, as far as the individuality of them, we're little things just to keep them, because we want good racing, we want safe racing. But all in all, as far as that particular car, we know, and you know probably better than I do, of just the specifics of that car and how well it performs with all your Mustang experience.
Yeah, well, and I mean, visually, just immediately you can see the aerodynamic bits that it has in comparison to those Dark Horse R race cars. So a much bigger rear wing, a much bigger front splitter on the front end of this Mustang. So it's just going to provide them a little bit more aero grip. And when I say aero grip, that is grip made off of the aerodynamics. Now, these cars are big. They have some huge tires underneath them, which really helps out that mechanical grip. And sections like this really hooked up, but what those aerodynamic bits add is the high-speed sections. Turn 1, turn 17, turn 14 over here. That's where it's really going to help provide that stability for Paolo out there.
And right now, he's got his eyes set on Andrew Hordes and the number 23. Hordes, also a Capaldi member as far as that family goes and that team goes, and everyone's a family under that tent over there. And so right now, Paolo Salvatore in the number 42 and 10th overall, started dead last, plus 300 yards back, being in a classic, and is now chasing down Andrew Hordes with 3 minutes, 19 seconds, plus 1 lap. Folks, the way that works is when the leader, which is Logan Adams, comes across the finish line, the start-finish line area, if there's 1 second left on the clock, that means he has 2 more laps to go. So we have to run the clock all the way out, and the next time by the start-finish line, he'll see the white flag.
That's exactly how it works here with USAC and their road racing, and it's how we run it across all of the different series here. It helps kind of eliminate any sort of gray area if it's right there on the start-finish line. You know, we basically just run it 2-0, and guess what? If you don't see zeros, you ain't getting the white flag yet. It's as simple as that. But Logan Adams maintaining the lead out front. It's kind of just sat there now at about 5 to 6 seconds for, call it, the last 15 minutes or so. I think that this driver is plenty comfortable, plenty happy with the car, and really ultimately just in cruise control, but still using that H-pattern gearbox.
Oh, absolutely. And here's the good news and the bad news is what I'm watching right now, which I see. I'm thinking about this, and this is what I see unfolding. The good news and the fun news is that, you know, every year, not just in this series, but a lot of series at this level, no matter what the manufacturer, make, and model is, you normally see that one young gun that's a standout. I don't know exactly why that is, but in all different forms, whether it's motocross or this, there's always that one guy that at this level of motorsport that's just, and it's usually somebody pretty young, that's just outstanding, right? And so it's fun to watch, and you just sit there and think about what kind of career he's got in front of him. What's a bummer for everyone else is, as he's continuing to gain his lead and to gap the rest of the field here, as he's doing it, he's just learning more and more and more, getting faster and faster and faster. So as it's fun and entertaining for us up here to be like, wow, look at how talented this young man is, the rest of the pack has got to be like, oh, man. What are we going to do here?
Yeah, and I think that this is a great, I always say every single lap, every single session is a great learning opportunity.
Sure.
You can learn something from it, whether it's racecraft, whether it's brake marker, you can learn something. And right now, I'd be on the radio with my team evaluating the car. We are at the end of this race, and is it pushing in turn number 1? Is it loose coming out at turn number 7 trying to put the power down? Is it struggling on the transitions left to right? Or am I completely happy with the car? Because there's always something to learn, and unless you relay that information to the crew and they're taking notes, it kind of gets lost into the abyss out there. So when I was a driver, I always like to call it 10 minutes. Crew, give me a 10-minute warning, you know, and what's the car doing? And then we do that throughout the entire 40 minutes, so that way you get to see the progression of the car, and then that way you can go into the next race and say, well, hey, we started here, we ended up here, let's make a few changes to it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I'm sure that's what we're doing right now is they are also, from a great team as well. These guys are very impressive. So right now we are down to 7 seconds left to go. And it looks like we should be seeing the white flag this time by. And it'll give Logan a lap and change left to go before he grabs the checkered flag. Now this will be his second one. We saw this yesterday as well, but this is in a full-length race, getting the full race in. And we nailed it yesterday. I said, you know what, tomorrow, Joey, we are going green to checkers. I feel it.
Yep. Oh, well, and here's the number 5 car. I believe this is Miller Richmond slow on the back straightaway here. And I think he's just got a little bit of a mechanical problem maybe on the left rear of the car. And it might be a flat tire is what I'm hearing on that car. So unfortunately, he's going to have to limp it back to the paddock. And unfortunately, that's probably going to spell the day over for that number 5 car.
Coming down to the last lap, too. And the thing is that, you know, and I'm not knocking Miller, great guy, but he's got to leave the off-road racing to off-road and road racing on the road, because those Yokohama tires, you got to do something pretty crazy to cut a tire or to get a flat on them. And it could be getting into another car, which we saw earlier on, and then getting off onto the curbs way too heavy, which we saw earlier on. And this is not me saying anything about Miller Richmond. It's not a positive thing, but you got to work hard to cut a tire down. As we're coming to the white flag lap right now for our leader, Logan Adams, Clark right behind him, Capaldi, Buell, Levitas. That's your top 5 overall, and we are down to the last lap for our leader.
I tell you what, Chris Clark has definitely kept Logan Adams honest, and a big shout out to that entire Paley Motorsports team. You know, Sean, you and I were talking about some previous racing experience, and also I think before we get to that, have a little bit of a replay. This is Paolo getting down the inside of Andrew Hordes and really just presents the car down to the inside. Hang on to it, Andrew.
Wow.
Fast hands kept it on the racetrack, but gives the position over to Paolo. But what I was going to mention is Chris Clark, I believe that program came together pretty late, and Sam Paley over there at Paley Motorsports, he's over in Australia right now because I think he's doing some GT4 racing over on the other side of the globe, but still helping support Chris Clark out here as Logan Adams leads our Dark Horse class and Chris Clark leads our Dark Horse Legends class.
Yeah, very good. You know, Sam Paley and his team put this program together very, very quickly. And got together, and it was well worth doing because, man, they are turning out some lap times here, without a doubt. Very impressive stuff what the Paley team has done along with Chris Clark, and I'm looking forward to a great season of these guys all year long in Cup. And, you know, there is wouldn't surprise me one bit if we end up seeing Clark and Adams and Capaldi really starting to battle it out as the season rolls on here, because I feel like Clark and Capaldi, they got more in the tank as well. And, you know, every track is different for everyone. As we are coming down to the nitty-gritty here, as he gets on the backstretch coming out of 16. Logan Adams barreling down the backstretch. We are now wide open in that car. Big thunder and loud American horsepower pulls him into turn 17 as he heads towards the checkered flag.
He's going to see a very familiar sight, a sight that he saw yesterday in the Miles Cup race, and that is a checkered flag from the start-finish stand. He just has to accelerate out of this turn number 17. He looks to the start-finish stand. There is the checker for Logan Adams, our winner in the Dark Horse class.
Logan Adams back on it and winning again, back-to-back victories. Clark on top of the podium in your Dark Horse Legends. Adams and Clark back up on that top step again, back-to-back days. What an impressive run for both Capaldi and Paley and those teams, putting it together, showing who is on top of their game here for rounds number 1 and 2, or round number 1 here for Sebring International Raceway, and winning here at this very iconic but very difficult and daunting track is not an easy task to do. So well played for these guys, as Capaldi in P2 in our Dark Horse Legends, Cal Buell P2 in our Dark Horses, Levitas Harris on the podium for the first time in a long time, solely because he hadn't been racing, but boy, it came back to him easily and quickly.
It was great to see, and we're going to watch the rest of the field here cross the start-finish line, and I'll go ahead and give you all the results. And starting with Logan Adams, of course, our winner in that Dark Horse class. Chris Clark going to win in that Dark Horse Legends class. Craig Capaldi on the podium in second place in the Legends class. Cale Buell on the podium in second place in the Dark Horse class. Harris is going to finish third in Dark Horse, and Luisi's in third in the Dark Horse Legends class. And then after that, we'll go ahead and just read our overall results. It's Nick Smither going to finish in 7th overall. Derek Carter here in 8th, with Paolo Salvatore, our only classic class car, moving his way all the way up to 9th after having that split start. Andrew Hordes with that amazing save down there at the turn 3 and 4 complex comes home in 10th place, with Elliott in 11th. Miller Richmond with that problem late in the race finishes in 12th, and unfortunately for McFarland had a little bit of some issues earlier on in the race. But fear not, don't go anywhere. We have some podium coverage coming up in just a few minutes.
Out here in Central Texas, we love our boots. The only thing we like more is our trucks. You can get both at any Leaf Johnson Ford location during Ford Truck Month. It's simple. Drive home a new truck, and we'll throw in a pair of iconic Allen boots, because the only thing better than a pair of new boots is a new truck. During Ford Truck Month, get $15,500 in total savings on a new F-150, or get 0% APR with $1,000 Truck Month bonus cash. Keep trucking during Ford Truck Month at any Leaf Johnson Ford location. You'll love it at Leaf.